back your homes or restore your dead to life.
But perhaps I can give you justice in the name of our king.
Hey everyone, by this point in the story, fans of Game of Thrones know the extreme importance in not only the history of Jon Snow's lineage, but also the role he will play in the Great War. Jon's uncle Benjen Stark also plays a pivotal role in the main narrative of the story. A lot of fans did not put much stock in Benjen's character, since he disappeared and was believed dead early in Season 1, ranging north of the Wall. This of course wasn't the case once a half-dead Benjen returns to save Jon from certain death near Eastwatch. Some would say it was a perfect ending to his role in the story as he sacrifices himself to get his nephew to safety. I mean, any caring uncle would be expected to do the same, right? Well sure, that seems standard for an honorable house like the Starks, but in reality, it may not have been as clear-cut as we first thought. We know when Benjen left the Wall in Season 1 he was attacked, clinging to life and also turning into a wight. By the grace of the old gods he was healed by the children of the forest, and spent some time with Bloodraven, aka Brynden Rivers, a great bastard of King Aegon Targaryen IV. Bloodraven was the three-eyed raven before Bran, and that means he had learned the true history of the world. Not what everyone else learns from books written by maesters in the Citadel, but rather the actual truth. Bloodraven witnessed the wedding of Lyanna and Rhaegar, just as Bran did, meaning he knew the truth about Jon long ago. I mean, you have to remember, by the time Brynden Rivers died in the cave, he was roughly 130 years old. Now, one popular opinion is that Benjen was told by Bloodraven what would take place involving his nephew in the future. In fact, this might not have necessarily come directly from the Targaryen Greenseer. It may have been told by a pet of the late Jeor Mormont. Jeor, as we know, was the Lord Commander for many years. He had a pet raven that he brought with him to the Wall. Pretty much everyone who knew Jeor and his raven called it Mormont's raven. Jeor said the raven had been with him for long years, and it's written the raven was super big and super old. Not only that, Maester Aemon found it very odd and rare that Mormont's raven would eat corn or grain instead of what most ravens like to eat, which is meat. Oh, and before I forget, the raven had a rather strange affection for Jon. Let me give you a quick rundown. Early on, when Jon is first at Castle Black, Jeor gives him a letter stating that Bran has awoken from his coma and is expected to live. The raven jumps from Jeor's arm onto his shoulder and repeats the word live. It is said the raven often repeats words that it hears from various people. And then when Jon uses Jeor's oil lamp to burn the wight recovered from beyond the Wall, the raven screams burn, except on its own initiative, not repeating what anyone else said. This is important because it points to the idea that this wasn't just some normal bird. Something of higher intelligence seems to be speaking through it. And who do we know uses ravens to observe events a good distance away? The three-eyed raven. Another example of Mormont's raven acting strange is when Jon wants to leave the Wall and help his brother Robb in the War of the Five Kings. Jeor asks Jon which is more important to him, his brother's war or the conflict beyond the Wall. Immediately, the raven flaps its wings and starts repeating, war. Now, it's very important to mention, by this point, Jon feels like what the bird is saying is song-like. Fast forward, and much more continues with the raven, like cawing the word snow during the election of the next Lord Commander after Jeor's death. It is believed this ultimately helped the brothers vote for Jon as their new leader. The bird now remained with Jon at Castle Black, even waking him up from a nightmare by pecking on his chest. And then when you think it cannot get any weirder, the raven calls Jon by his full name, something he's never done prior. Okay, and now back to Benjen. We know the Starks spent many years at the Wall, and this means Benjen was well acquainted with Mormont's raven. Some fans believe that Benjen was either told or felt he was going to need to bring Jon to the Wall by the strange words of Mormont's raven. And then when he was rescued and brought to the Bloodraven's cave, he was let in on what the rest of his future holds, going towards Eastwatch and saving his nephew from the Night King. This can be supported by the interaction he has with Jon just before ranging beyond the wall in Season 1.
I'm ready. I won't let you down.
You're not going. You're no ranger, John.
But I'm better than every
Better
other.
than no one.
Also, think about when Benjen arrives at Winterfell and speaks to Jon in the courtyard. Jon is ready and willing to take the black, but Benjen seems sad and urges Jon he doesn't understand what he'd be giving up. That sounds pretty interesting, considering the fact that Jon was believed to be a bastard and wasn't going to be living the sweet noble life like his siblings. Why would Benjen initially want Jon to stay away from the wall when he knows this is an honorable path to take for a bastard of a great house? Maybe because through all of his years in the Night's Watch, Benjen came to learn about how his nephew would go on to be the one who leads the realms of men to fight against the legendary Night King and his disciples. If so, then this would fit with how Bran, the current three-eyed raven, goes back in history through his green sight to influence a change that causes the future to turn out differently. Let me know what you think about this theory, and if you have other ideas as to why Mormont's raven acts so strange and seems to guide Jon through some of his toughest moments. As always, thanks for watching, have a great day, and I will see you soon.